Welcome to 100 Yards of Football this morning. Today we got an NFL Draft Prospect Special. It's Daxton Hill, free safety / cornerback out of the University of Michigan. So if you like the video today, please comment and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me as always over the last few months covering all these great players to enter the 2022 NFL Draft. I consider him the best right now that's covering these players. The best that's breaking down game film. The best that's got experience behind his name. He studied under two of the greatest coaches in the National Football League, Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells. He's coming live to us out of Key West, Florida. Before I bring his name up and before I bring him up, he's got a book on Amazon, whatever it takes. Please read the story because it will change your life. No question about it. My man, Key West, Florida, Mr. Daniel Kelly. How you doing this morning, DK?
Hey, I'm doing well, Vince. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing fine, man. Doing excellent this morning.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Okay, let's break down Daxton Hill, safety out of the University of Michigan. Before you say anything, Mr. Kelly, if you like the video, please comment and share it. And please give us all the comments on all the players that we've been covering for the last few months. It's very important to us. And one more thing, we surely appreciate you supporting us here at 100 Yards Football, supporting me, Mr. Vincent Turner, and supporting Mr. Daniel Kelly. Now, let's talk about Daxton Hill, safety out of the University of Michigan.
There he is, right on your screen. Daxton Hill, safety, Michigan, as you said, Mr. Turner. 6 foot, 192. Said to run a 4.3 40. 2021 game film I reviewed on Daxton Hill. I looked at him for SI All Lions against Wisconsin, Penn State, Ohio State, and Iowa. Looked at him in 4 different games. And, I've seen this guy, sneak into a few first-round mocks, but I'm not seeing first round with this guy. I put a 3rd round league grade on Daxton Hill. And it's more of a grade that's more where you take a developmental type of player, the 3rd, 4th round with upside. The issue with Hill is the rigidity in his hips. And in today's NFL, a cornerback has to have fluid hips. He has to be able to flip his hips. He has to have the fluidity to adjust crisply at the route breakpoints to match with wide receivers. These wide receivers have a lot of wiggle, a lot of snap at breakpoints on routes when they break off the routes on the route tree, and you have to be able to match. You cannot round off at the point. And so that's why I kind of see him more as a 3rd to 4th round guy. Having fluid hips, let's talk about this for a moment, in the NFL is the number one most important characteristics for corners. And Hill just does not have the agility in his hips that he needs. Hill has some rigidity, which projects him, as you said, Mr. Turner, more into a safety role in the NFL. The issue with him playing safety in the NFL is he's had such limited reps as safety. When I looked at him in 4 games, a lot of times he was in the slot, covering the slot receiver there. That's an issue because he didn't have the experience playing safety, as I said, in the games I watched. As I write for SI, Lions, like I mentioned, I put in the article, what I wrote for him is as I stay away from projecting guys that project to a different position than where they play the majority of their snaps and reps at, especially in the higher rounds. I remember the safety we had at the Jets when I first got there in 1998. We took a guy in high up in the draft. I think it was in the 3rd round, a guy by the name of Scott Frost from Nebraska. He was a quarterback in Nebraska. He came in and played safety at the Jets. It did not work out. It was a high round pick. So I kind of stay away. I learned from that experience to stay away from projecting guys to different positions high up in the draft. Here's what Hill is, okay? He's a lean-built speed guy who must be put into a zone scheme where he can keep things in front of him. Let's look at the positives on Daxton Hill, okay? This guy's got excellent vertical straight line speed. If I'm in a war room in the NFL, this is what I'm talking about. He can break back downhill very quickly. He excels at undercutting routes in coverage when he has the time to read the quarterbacks. Hence why I think he fits best into a zone scheme. This guy has to end up in the right system to have the best chance to succeed in the National Football League. What is Daxton Hill, as you're looking at him on your screen, what does he do best? The best thing he does is blitzing. He's very good at blitzing and blitz situations on passing downs. Now let's look at the negatives and the issues that are surrounding Hill. Again, he struggles in tight man coverage. This is not a guy you want to lock up in tight man-to-man press coverage. He tends to play the receiver rather than the ball. He got beat consistently in the 4 games I watched him at. Go back. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm not lying about this. Go back and turn on the tape. If you're a general manager right now, turn on the tape against Wisconsin, Penn State, Ohio State, and Iowa. He got consistently beat in tight man. Downright, he looked lost in man coverage. He lacks the most concerning thing, maybe outside of the hips even, is he lacks the instincts in the play in a man scheme. There's nothing I liked about Daxton Hill when he was locked up tight with wide receivers. Hill will get killed in a man scheme. If you're a defense in the NFL, hear my voice. He will get killed in a man scheme in the NFL. The receivers always had the upper hand. And I don't really see him as a nickel corner either in the NFL that you can line up against a slot in the league either, because he's not nearly effective enough against the pass, and he's certainly not aggressive enough against the run. He just does not attack the run game aggressively. A lot of times he just ended up by the pile on the screen, which was a concern. There is a reason, folks, why Michigan mostly had him in the slot and did not match him up on the outsides against outside receivers, even at the college level. Pay attention to that. Even with Hill's speed, a lot of people will fall in love with the speed, but there's a reason why even his own school did not put him on the outsides. Under no circumstances should Hill be considered a first or a second round pick. I don't know what people are seeing or what they're saying that who see that. His best characteristic, again, and the most immediate impact he'll have on an NFL team as a rookie is putting him in the game on blitzing situations, third down passing situations, where he can showcase his speed and fly in and get to the quarterback. The hips are where everything's at. This guy is just not an NFL corner, more of a safety type, but he's not on my board because he's kind of a tweener where I don't know what you really do with him. And if you do bring him in, I think, for me personally, if I was going to bring a guy in like a Daxton Hill as an aspiring general manager, I wouldn't bring him into the latter rounds, 5th, 6th, 7th round, because it's a more safe bet at that point when you're projecting somebody and you're bringing them in, because, again, he just doesn't have what it takes as a corner to play in the National Football League, and he lacks the experience at safety, so there's going to be a real ramp-up time with this guy when he comes in as a rookie. What are your thoughts on Daxton Hill, Mr. Turner?
Well, basically, when I looked at Daxton Hill, he was the first. He became a first-team All-Big Ten safety. So that being said, I understand what you're saying, him playing the corner, but his really experience to me has been at the safety position. As you always know, Daniel, I love the production of a player. 149 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss. He had 4 interceptions, but this is a key stat that I look at when especially you playing the safety position. He had 15 pass deflections. He had 3 forced fumbles. True enough, you say he might be a little light as far as maybe playing in the box or playing on the island as a safety, but the young man showed me personally that he does have some physicality to him. Then when I look at him, I compare him to all the great safeties. Got to look at Kenny Easley. Kenny Easley, kind of wiry guy. We know how good when he came in the league. Then you got to look at Dennis Smith. USC, they had a great career with the Broncos. Then think about when you're growing up in the state of Tennessee, 6 million people back in the late 70s, early 80s. There was a safety that went to New England, Roland James. Daxton Hill puts me in the mind of him. Then I'm not gonna get crazy today here on 100 yards football.
Oh, come on.
What I'm saying, the 15 passes deflections, I call him a little bit of a baby Ed Reed. Then when you look at all the great defensive backs that came out of Michigan. He's played at Aurora this school. David Brown, Garland Rivers, Trip Wilburn, Tom Curtis, Randy Logan, and the great who won the Heisman Trophy, who was a corner, then became a safety in the National Football League, Charles Woodson. Then what other main key I love about him, he not only was he a first team All Big Ten, but he was the first team All Big Ten academically at Michigan. Think about that. And then he comes from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Oh my God, he comes from Booker T, Washington. He comes from an area that is really, really culture. And them folks really take academically, musically, spiritually together. And the school he went to, Tyler Lockett. We all know about him. R.W. McCorders. We all know about him. Robert Meacham. We all know about him. One of the greatest basketball players that played on the college level in the NBA, Raymond Tisdale. His brother's Justin Hill right now. So he's got a little experience and know what it takes to make it in the National Football League. That's playing with the Baltimore Ravens. Then, from the musical side, one of his mentors, Charlie Wilson and Ronnie Wilson of the Gap Band, one of the most acclaimed R&B bands of the late 70s, early 80s. So I'm going to be honest with you. True enough, Daniel, you brought out a lot of things. There are concerns with Daxton Hill. But like you said, if you get in the right system, I can see this young man really, really becoming a very productive football player. That means he might have to put on some weight. That means he might have to get better coaching. But you know how this game goes. If he comes with that work ethic, and he's played at a school that was high level this year that made the college football playoffs, that hadn't made it in 8, 9, 10 years, that has never been in the college playoffs, the University of Michigan. I like the young man. And one more key with me. You brought up 4.340, 43-inch vertical, and a 4.22 shuffle. To me, that means freakazoid, brought to the football field. Yes, sir, Mr. Kelly. Final words about Daxton Hill.
Hey, you got excited there on us, Mr. Turner.
I like the young man. The young man made first team All Big Ten safety. True enough, he had some problems. I understand. He's probably not going to be a corner at the next level. But when you look at it, to me, I'm not a scout. I'm not on any level you are. I'm just a guy that loves the game, loves the players, follows the game, been following the game all my life since I was born. I'm 61 years old, be 62 in July. I like this type of football player.
Well, it's interesting. You raised a lot of good points, and I think that's what it really comes down to when we're looking at Daxton Hill. He's got to end up in the right system. That's going to be critically important for a guy like this. In a team and a defense that plays, like I said at the top of the show, it plays a lot of primarily zone coverages. I can see a guy like this fitting into that type of a system. There is a ramp up time. And of course, when I looked at the tape, you talked, Mr. Turner, about the fact that he played safety in the past. For whatever reason, he wasn't playing safety in the 4 games I looked at him in 2021. It must have been a coaching decision to slide him, down into the slot position more. But that's the thing is you just have to make sure you're comfortable as an NFL team where you're putting a guy like this, because these are the type of guys that can be a little bit challenging to project into the NFL, because they're more of a tweener type that's between 2 different positions, between a corner and a safety. So where exactly do you put him? He doesn't have the hips. Because again, let's not kid ourselves. It all comes down to having hips as a corner. If you can't match receivers at the break points I touched on, you might as well not even come onto the football field because you're going to get smoked against these NFL receivers. So it comes down to the hips at corners, which he does not have in a man scheme. And at safety, you have to feel comfortable putting him there despite the lack of experience in 2021 if you're an NFL team. No question he has all the physical characteristics you touched on, Mr. Turner. No question those characteristics are going to shine in the workouts and that leading up to the draft. That's going to cause a lot of teams are going to see that speed, and they're going to see those physical characteristics that you touched on that teams are going to fall in love with. But it all comes back to the game film. You have to look at the game film and see what he is, because again, one of the key components of scouting is level of competition. And when you see a guy that's at the college level struggling in coverage, all you can ask yourself as an evaluator is, how is he going to play at the next level, at a much higher level? If he's struggling in coverage at college, it's easy math that it's only going to be harder in the NFL covering these receivers in the NFL. So you also have to take that into the equation and be comfortable with it. But like you said, there's a lot of physical things about him. And the thing I like most about him is like Dave Gettleman used to say, the old general manager of the New York Giants, he told a young scout once, hey, focus on the positives. Everybody has negatives. I mean, Barry Sanders wasn't a power runner. Focus on the positives. Tell me what he can do. And the one thing this guy can do, the one thing I did like about him was him as a blitzer, blitzing in pass rush situations.
My final words about Daxton Hill from Tulsa, Oklahoma, by way of Booker T. Washington High School. Like I say, he comes from an area that's rich, very rich in production, very rich in culture, very rich in pride. Like I said, his brother plays right now for the Baltimore Ravens, and all the great people that came out of that high school and that was mentors to him. Raymond Tisdale, one more time. R.W. Quarters, who played in the NFL, first-round pick. Robert Meacham, first-round pick. Tyler Lockett, who's right now one of the best receivers in the game out there with the Seattle Seahawks. But this is about Daxton Hill. When you look at a football player, in my opinion, it's always the production. And I like the production with this kid. So I'm going to go with the great words of Charlie Wilson, who also attended the high school that Daxton Hill went to. And one of his mentors, and Charlie Wilson, the lead singer of the Gap Band, had a song that went like this. You were that girl that changed my world. You were that girl for me. You let the fuse, and I stand accused. You was the first for me. You dropped the bomb on me. Daxton Hill, through all maybe the weaknesses he has, he gets in the right system, he's going to be dropping some bombs in the National Football League. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. It's been an outstanding ride talking about this young man from the University of Michigan. If you like the video, please come in and share it. I want to give special thanks to this young man who's on the screen right now, coming live to us out of Key West, Florida, and to our producer, Mr. Logan Landers.
Yes, thank you, Logan.
And do one thing for me, football fans, that combine and started yesterday. Please watch it this weekend, and you'll see all these great players perform at a high level. It's Freakazoid time with Daxton Hill. Y'all be blessed.
Take care.